Hello guys, my name is Tomea. Welcome back to my channel. Today I will be showing you how I make a basic block using a board paper. So with the basic block, it's easy to create several designs. So first I will be marking the basic lines, the bust line, the under bust line, and the waistline. My bust line is 12.5 and under bust sorry is 16.5 and the waistline is 18.5. I'm very bust. So remember that all measurements are divided into 4. So this is assumed to be folded into 4, and we're only going to be basing the measurement on, this measurement on a fourth of our normal measurement. Now I am marking my shoulder measurement, which is divided into 2, and that would be 7.5. I take that down all the way to the bust line. I measure that 7.5 all the way to the bust line. Next, I'm going to be marking my armhole, which is 8 inches. So for my dresses that are sleeveless, I use 8 inches generally, and then if I'm going to be attaching a sleeve to it, then it will be 8.5 inches. Next, I draw a line from the top of my shoulder measurement to the armhole line. Because the shoulder is not straight, it goes down slightly, so I'm going to be marking 3.4 on the shoulder line, and I join that to the neckline. So next, halfway from the shoulder line to the bust line, I mark halfway on that, and then on that halfway mark, I mark 1 inch inward. This is going to create the armhole measurement for me. I'm going to be joining the 3 points to create my armhole. Next, I'm going to be inserting the measurement for the bust cut. So we will need the bust point measurement, that is the nipple to nipple measurement. Mine is 8 inches and half of that is 4. So I put 4 on the bust point. On the bust line, I take out 1 inch from that 4 that I used for the bust point, and so that would be 3 inches. And on the waistline, I take out ½ inch. So I am going to be using 3.5 inches on the waistline for the bust cut. With my French curve, I'm going to join the bust points to the underbust mark that I've created, and with a straight line, join the underbust to the waistline. From my bust point to the armhole, is exactly at that half part that we created earlier. I am going to join a line to connect those 2 points together. On the bust, I take out 3 inches for the dart, and then the waistline 2.5 inches to complete the bust cut that we started. So this is going to be the dart. This is going to form the dart part for the bust cut. And then for the other side of the armhole, I freehand the curved line from the bust point and extend the armhole a little bit by 1.5 inches to give room for when I have to sew and then connect the two together, the two pieces together. So this is going to give me enough room, and I can adjust that later after I have sewn the pieces together. Next, I'm going to be inserting my measurement for my bust on the bust and waist circumference. So remember that we are dividing the measurement into 4. So my bust measurement is 41 inches. So I am going to be using 10.3 plus 2 inches for allowance. So for the under bust and the waist, we have to skip the darts for the bust cuts that we created when you are actually placing your measurements on the line. So my under bust, remember, I used 3 inches before the dart. So then I move that here and I measure the under bust circumference from the end of the dart. So I place the 3 on the other side, and then for my under bust measurement, I'm using 8.5 inches plus 2, that would be 10.5 inches. And then for my waist, remember we use 2.5 inches to create the breast cut, sorry. And so I move that 2.5 inches to the end of the dart, and then I continue my measurement from there. So mine is 9 plus 2, that would be 11 inches. So for the waistline, I just let the line flow from the other bust to the waist because I want the shape to make sense when I cut, and I don't want it to look odd. So I will be trimming the excess off later when I join the pieces together when I sew this pattern. Next, I am working on the back. So for the back, I use dotted lines because we want to differentiate what the measurements for the front part is and the measurement from the back part. So for the armhole on the back, remember at that midpoint, I am going to be using 1/2 inch to join the armhole for the back. Okay, so at that midpoint, I mark 1/2 inch and then I join the points together with dotted lines. So at the mid back on the waist, we will be taking off 3/4 inch of the waistline. So this is going to help us connect the zipper seamlessly when it's time to do that. So that 3.4 inches that I took out, I am going to connect to the main waist measurement. I'm also going to be creating a slant line for the zipper at the midpoint of the back. So I take out 1/2 inch, a little bit off from the waistline, and then I connect that to the bust point. And so for the dart of the back pieces, we're going to be using straight lines. I'm going to connect those straight lines from the waist to the armhole. I make them 2 inches apart, and it's a slant line from the waist to the armhole. Now we're marking the circumference as well for the bust, under bust, and waist. Remember to take into consideration the waist, the dart that we have created when inserting your measurements. So start from the midpoint up to the first line of the dart, then skip the dart and then continue to measure for your bust, under bust, and waist. Remember, all measurements for the back part has to be dotted lines, or you could switch it around. If you use dotted line for the front, you want to use straight line for the back. Just to clarify that, I am going to be using different colors to specify the back and front measurement as well. So for the front part, I have decided to use a black marker to trace it out, and then for the back I used red. So when I use this pattern to create a dress, I already know that the red is for the back and the black is for the front. So it's easy for me to distinguish the difference. So basically I'm done with this basic block, and I'm going to be using this to create some dresses in the future. Stay tuned and come back to see more and see designs I create from this pattern. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns. I'll be happy to answer them in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and come back for more. I would really appreciate that. Thank you. Take care and God bless. Bye.